Hello. I know I'm a few minutes early. However, I happen to have a copy of the Blue Fairy book by Lang. And I thought while we were waiting for Buffa, I'd come in a little bit early and just read the chapter, The History of Whittington, which is the Pinocchio story. So I just thought I'd read. It's not very long, a few pages. I don't know if I'll get all the way through it, but while we were waiting, I thought I would read through. So this book that I have, I actually got at a thrift. It's an old library book. It's from 1948, so it's pretty old. And the interesting thing is the dates. It's still got the cards in the book. The earliest date that's in here is 60. So 10, 10, 60, 2, 6, 61, 4, 17, 61, 26, 61. Look, Buffa's here. She beat me. So anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. Buffa's here.
Hello. I can't change my avatar, so
there we go. Yay!
It will be what it will be.
I love it.
We need it. It's the Arcturus Spire thing. It's just every time you log into this thing, it just picks a picture and it says, "Would you like to change your picture?" And you say, "I'd love to change my picture. Can I do that?" And it says you've got to do so many steps of logging in and doing all this. I'm like, I can't be doing that. I haven't got enough time. I'll get it right.
Well,
it's a weird thing.
Did you get my email? I sent you some pictures of my book.
That book, Blue Fairy, lovely. I like the Blue Fairy book very much. That is lovely. How did you get that? Is it a charity shop find? How did you come across it?
Thrift store a few years ago. I actually have a small little collection of vintage fairy books. So it was just, I didn't even know its significance. I just like fairy tales, you know me.
Yeah.
And I came across this one and I didn't have this one. And so I got it. I've got four books altogether that are like vintagey. No, actually, that's not true because I have a couple more in the house that we read from. So my daughters learned to read from old Dick and Jane. That's how she learned to read.
Oh, you can't beat a good Dick and Jane book. Oh, I've got those. Read with and like looking at the yellow jumpers, and they're not the updated Ladybird. They really are Dick and Jane. I've got the flashcard set as well. My nan taught me to read. I think I was reading, like at 2.5, 3. I know if you've got girls and you understand language, this is off tangent, but girls do pick up language and therefore reading quite easily, and they can start seeing the patterns. My oldest son, he was a good reader. The other 2 children I've got now, absolutely rubbish, but my little one just came home and he's got the highest reading age in his class. So his teacher gave him a well done certificate. You're the highest for reading age in the whole of our class. So I thought, well, I must be doing something right. So I haven't failed as a parent, but this is an additional piece of language. There was a reading scheme. So I grew up on Dick and Jane and like the old system Ladybird books, and then there was a period of time, I'm going to say, oh my gosh, I did know, in the 70s, where ITA, initial sounds, they came up with a way of writing and communicating called ITA, and it left. We talk about things that happen to generations. It left a generation of people. Now, it didn't affect my mum and it didn't affect her, the brother who was older, but the third child, this newfangled system was in schools. And I still had it, but it was phased out in the 80s. And if you Google ITA as a reading scheme, it shows you how you blend together all these different phoneme sounds, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. And you just go in. So you had to learn a different type of hieroglyphs. You had to learn. You had so you'll have an O and an E, and they're joined together, like they're smushed together. Now we don't have that. You have cursive writing where you join all the letters together, but you don't have letters that you put together. And there was obvious ones like O would be an oo sound, but some of it is just really, really weird. And so my name, so that A sound could be N-A-Y-M or something, but they had all these different, A-E. Name would be N-A-E-M, not A-M-E at the end. And so it left a whole generation of people basically dyslexic. And my auntie is one of them. She can't spell for toffee. And so when someone says they can't spell, you automatically think, well, you had the same education as me, and what you're doing is you've made a mental leap that their education was not the same as yours. So when I went to school, if you were bright, you was on ITA for about a week, 2 weeks, and the teacher said, yeah, you can have big books now, and that basically what we know as English. You're allowed to go on to big books because you've completed the ITA scheme quickly. But children who were still learning, or August babies, they were kept on it longer, and they were being imprinted with incorrect spellings. That's why they were set to fail.
Is that similar to the like hooked on phonics? The phonics
jump phonics. The phonics schemes we've got now are based on English, so they're much better. This would be the first type of phonics, I suppose. But yeah, ITA initial.
It's reading my mind.
Oh, by the way, is the sound okay? Because I can go to microphone. Oh, I'm using the phone with no headphones.
You're fine.
If there's echo or feedback, someone tell us in the chat, and I'll go to, like if there's reverberation or something, please let us know. I've got my headphones here.
Yeah, I never bothered with any of that with my wee one. We just read. I read to her, and she could read now. I didn't do anything. I didn't do a thing, Buffa.
I used to get
as good as an adult. She only struggles
really?
with words that are clearly, she's 8, or she just turned 8.
Yeah.
So but she can read. And I just figured, well, at some point we learned to do this without teachers. So how do we learn to read? We're read to. So I thought I'd read to her. She'll read, and she'll come across, she'll go, what's that word? And then now I'm telling her, now PH can make an F sound. And so now she's starting to recognize that. So now she sees, I didn't have to do a phonics. She goes, okay, that P is a F. And so when she's reading, she's picking up phonics along the way. I think schools get a little too medley.
We teach an awful lot of it at school, and it's 2 years intense. So you start at age 4. So 4 to 5 would be, say, single letter sounds. Make sure you can recognise them on sight, recognise the capital and then the small lowercase. Then when they come into year 1, so that's age 5 to 6, when they come into year 1, you're going back over what they have kind of already learned in reception. And the way we do it at my school is quite good, actually, because it's phased. And I've got children who are 8 and 9, but because their phonics is so poor, they come from elsewhere in the school and they come and join me in my class, because that we're in a class of ability, not age. So that's another really good thing that works across a mixed school. And there can be people, and you're absolutely right, there can be people that are behind for lots of reasons. We're saying, I overheard a lady today saying about, oh yes, my son's had an MRI. There's nothing wrong with his brain. He's just slow to develop his speech. And I think people pigeonhole you. I've had 2 children now that have been very slow to speak, but are perfectly articulate and can read very well now. I put it on the other half, like you only have so much DNA to start with,
Right. That's
you can't make a silk purse out of a cow's ear. So, but what happened is he was one child was really non-verbal kind of thing until easily at age 5 he had about 5 words, and it really was, everything else is just ug point, and but when it comes to reading, like you say, with my other child and with these children, you'll be going through and saying, that's the word and. You've now got to read all of the and, anything that's cat, sat, mat, anything that's 3 letters long, you can read those words. I'll read everything else in the book. And so you're right. Your language development, that is a muscle. Your brain is a muscle. You need to do exercises otherwise that part of your brain doesn't work. And if you're always watching a TV screen, you're not exercising that muscle, the language, motor part of your brain. So it's obvious it's not going to develop. I used to put subtitles. I tell anybody, for adults, if an adult East Cell class said, I can't read, I mean, like, put the subtitles up. You read as you're listening.
I've always had subtitles up. The TV is always on a subtitle. And I started thinking about that as my wee one was getting to that age of reading, you know, as she was, and I thought, I'm not going to take that off. I'm going to leave it on. That's got to be good for her, you know? So it's silly things like that. How old are your boys again?
They're 7 and 10, but this Saturday is our birthday, so we'll be 8 and 11. So we're just coming to the end of primary. End of primary, and the other one's moving to the second part of junior school. So he's in the lowest class of junior school. He'll be going to year 4, which is like the next one up. So and he's getting on. He's really getting good.
10 years old, because 5th grade here, so I guess that would be your 5. That goes into the 12-year-old age. So that's your last stop, double digits, before you go into what we call junior high here, which is, you know, 13.
Yes.
So that's such a, you know, me and ages and stages. And so this double digit age that our kids are in right now is fascinating. The tween years are so magical for them.
Yeah. And a bit like, I think I was, oh God, I was hedge trimming today. I've been out all day, and I was hedge trimming, and I put on. I did catch it the first time on Ulick's channel. You've got the "Why am I getting strikes?" Look at the filth that's on YouTube. So you talk about tweens, and we're talking about those crop vests, sexualization, and you're going, not on my watch, thank you very much. I'm filling the letter in. So that my child, so he's year 6, so he'll be 10 going on to 11. And I know some children are mature for it, but the sex ed that I went to last afternoon, like you say, the words are scary. Like you'd be traumatized. So the birth lesson is the lesson I can take.
None of that until puberty. And sex ed is not about sex. It's about your sexual identity as a boy or a girl. It has nothing to do with sticking your parts in each other. It has to do with my sex is male.
I don't think ours is as bad as America, but at secondary school it is quite graphic. Like I've been in a class where they're given a piece of paper, and it was describe everything. I was in year 11s. I was on careers, so I had an easy PSHE day, but we had a whole day of doing like PSHE. And they locked the classroom at break times and lunch times, and in the staff room, one of the teachers says, go have a look through my window and see what you can read on the posters. So I did, and on these giant sugar paper they had to write down everything you can do bar have sex. But it's like, why would you even have that why would you ask it as a leading question as a teacher? Why would a child have to tell? This is what parents are getting annoyed at. Why would my child have to tell you who they fancy? None of your business. You're a teacher. You're not here to find out whether I like boys, whether I like girls, whether I'm indifferent. I'm ambivalent about it, and I actually couldn't care tuppence. As a teacher, so the PSHE, like you say, I don't know how many people have put their foot down and said, we won't be doing that on my watch, thank you very much. So it's being watchful about it. And there's the lesson at his age. It says. There's like a load of flashcards, and so we read the resources. We're able to read all the resources before they go to the children. And this lesson he will be in, and that is describing puberty. And it says, why do I have pubic hair around my gonads and that? And then another one, it's got like a girl question. Why is one breast bigger than the other? And I'm like going, my son really does not want to find out about that. Thank you very much.
Jesus. Well, let me just say this. It's well known, well documented, and well studied that children who are introduced to sexualization at a young age become more sexual as an adult. We know this because abused children have this problem.
Yeah. Yes,
they're
exploitive.
That's why they become prostitutes and strippers. So if we know this to be a fact, and the leaders know that for a fact, then they're either incompetent or with intent to be putting this in young children's schools because we already know what that makes. So it tells me you're making future sexual adults. That's the outcome, plain and simple. So
I go into it going, well, if there's a bigger agenda, as you know, the classic one is the rainbow unicorns. How come you're not reading your unicorn books to the OAPs in care homes? They've got listening ears. And like you say, bringing it down to free love. Scotland have brought down age of consent down to 13. New Zealand
they should all be arrested. That is disturbing. Age of consent for what? A 13-year-old to have sex with another 13-year-old, or to have
it wouldn't be a police event. It wouldn't be a crime. Right. And then in New Zealand, no age, but they've put a number on it. But the New Zealand have said there is no age. And then it goes in even further, and the language in the documentation for prosecution, not the law, the prosecution is you can have consent, but it might be implied consent. It doesn't have to be the word yes. Now, this then opens it up to bestiality and all sorts, and that's what gets my go up. That's what really gets on my wick, and I go, I won't be having that on my watch. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I'm not interested in that. A 13-year-old having sex with another 13-year-old is one thing. But a 13-year-old having sex with somebody over the age of 18 is a completely different thing. Okay.
That's what they were trying to say. They were trying to say if a 13-year-old is with a 15 or 16-year-old girlfriend, boyfriend, then the 15, 16-year-old shouldn't be prosecuted. So there was a case where he was 17. Then there's a case, isn't there? And and again, I don't know how much of this is a fake, there for a reason. So they say this chap is 17. He was convicted of being with a, say, 13 or 14-year-old girlfriend. But because we had COVID, his case wasn't seen. And because he had to go to juvenile court and have all special things, they didn't do it online. He then is a 21-year-old. How they managed to drag this out for 5 years, I don't know. That goes to show you this whole unicorn agenda has been in the making for a lot longer.
Yeah.
So he's now 21. And he's being convicted of something he did at 17. And by then, everyone's like, oh, can we not let bygones be bygones? But then you have to ask yourself, if you were the dad, if you were the mum of the girl,
right?
We don't know if she got pregnant and there was a consequence to his actions at 17. And that's why they wanted him prosecuted. Where you just go, there's something that doesn't quite, I'm not joining up all the dots the way you're telling me the story.
Mm-hmm.
So
something doesn't add up. It reeks.
Yeah, it sneaks a bit
talk about the Blue Fairy. Let's
go Blue Fairy. So we've started downhill. We can only go up. So
okay.
So yesterday, we'll catch up for all those who weren't here yesterday. You'll have to go back and rewatch. So yesterday we were talking about AI and AI sperm, AI eggs, AI womb, and then you can have AI children. And obviously the most famous one is the AI boy in the film AI. And he's in a the film. His mum and dad have lost, I'll start off this bit. His mum and dad have lost their only child, David, and they go to a cloning factory and say, please, sir, can you clone me a replacement child? Yes, of course, madam. Pay me all your money. Yes, here you go. Here is your new child of the same age of when your child died. But he's a soft AI. He's AI. And in the AI film, Jude Law is another AI robot who kind of live in a rogue sort of alternate society once they're so Jude Law is a pretty one. He was used as a sex bot, a proper sex bot, not the sexy bots we get. Like what, sorry?
I think Jude Law is a little delicious.
Well, I can see why he was used as a sexy bot. Some lady can't have a man and she goes, I think I'll order one of them sexy bots and I'll have the Jude Law version. So yes, but Jude Law
Jude Law have on order.
yeah. And Jude Law goes, you mad woman, leave me alone, you pest. You're a sex pest, go away.
Yes, and so what are you talking about, Becca? He has my version.
So he runs away. He runs away, and then we have actually, we've talked about, like if you go down the Donald Marshall route, clone wars and clone fights. In the film AI, clones are used to have these, fight to the death, and then a big hammer claw picks up these dead robots and dumps in a body parts pile. And this poor little boy David runs away, gets lost, whatever, into a forest. Because the mum and dad that get this robot go, "You're good, but you're not quite my real son. We want to take you back to the factory." And the factory go, "Well, we can't now give this bot to anyone else because he was created."
Well, hang on.
Go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to pause just here for a second, because this scenario of what happened was the family had a real son after.
No, they had the real son before.
Right. Oh, was it before?
Died. Yeah, the real son has died, and that's how they've got the DNA to recreate.
You have another child, another one, he's crippled or something, and there's something, I haven't watched that in a while, but that's where the problem lied, because the boy and the robot started to have some jealousy.
Oh, yes. He was poking fun at him, wasn't he? And he was going, and like, you're just going, if you've got a computer doesn't react, computer doesn't, because it's siblings. So if my little one hits my big one, the big one will punch him back. There's a reaction to every action. And so if you go, "He hit me," okay, well, who did the hitting first? Okay, you got what you deserved, instant. Right, both of you, keep your hands to yourself. Go to your separate corners.
Another futuristic movie that also has, that Gattaca has that same idea, where the one son is the old version, and then the new son is the new genetically modified version.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm not saying it's the same. What I'm saying is that the mom's always dead kind of idea is here. This idea of one being,
we don't need the mom,
new, and one being old, or this kind of, one's alive, one's not. That back and forth between the siblings. Anyway. Keep going, because I love these trains.
No, yeah. I've got a pen and paper, so I can pick up. There's another film, okay? Mm-hmm. There's another film, and I don't know its title, but it's got Gillian. She's got ginger hair. She was a Doctor Who assistant, and it's her and a clone. And she has this film idea. This film is we have clones in society. She has cancer. So her mum and dad pay 25k, and with her consent, they get the clone ready. And as she's about to die of cancer in the last 4 weeks, they say, "We're going to start reintroducing, show the clone what you like to wear, your smells." And so the clone robot learns how to mirror that person. The person then goes to the oncologist for their cancer checkup, and she goes, you're cured. She goes, "What do you mean I'm cured? You told me I was dying." She goes, "You're cured." And she goes, "But I've cloned myself." And the doctor's like, "Not my problem. You're living. You're not dying." So then there's 2 of her in the world, and the rules of this society are that you have to have a Hunger Games, and the best person wins, and the clone can take over your real identity after 12 months. So they have the fight, and basically they do a bit of damage to each other. Oh, what's even worse, as she's introducing the clone of her to her mum and her family start to fall in love with the clone. And it's like, wait a second, how can you love her more than you love me? I'm the real one. She's just a copy of me. And that was even more scary. In the end, she has to drive off and start a life, and the clone goes and lives with her family, because the family adopts the clone. The actual family like the clone more than her.
Do you remember that movie Get Out? Do you remember that one? They did a second one. She did another one after that one. And it has that idea where their mirror other selves, their mirrored selves come through to this reality and have to kill them to take. That's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, really. That's that same metaphor of being taken over, being replaced. It's the fear of being replaced, of being rejected.
Beautiful.
Okay, keep going now. I love it.
Right, so we're on Jude Law. Jude Law sees the little boy he's got accidentally into this fight ring and goes, "Come on, I'll look after you." So Jude Law becomes like the father figure to the little boy David, and he has a teddy bear that's how you get like the teddy bear AI teddy, that talks to him. So this poor little boy, he's only got a teddy bear, and Jude Law, he's got a pedo for a teacher as a parent, and he's got a teddy bear that may or may not swear, like the Ted films. So. But the whole idea of this little boy is he goes, "I'm searching for the blue fairy." So I played the clip to myself, just the last 4 minutes of the film. And literally so basically the whole world has a flood. So basically it's another Noah. We're all dead. All the real people are dead. And the only people that are alive are the AI robotic people. So somehow I've forgotten how, because I haven't seen it in ages, sorry. But so David gets in a submersible and goes, "I'm looking for the blue fairy," which to him was like he'd seen it before. It'd be like looking for the Statue of Liberty, like it's a monument. And he goes, "I know where it is, but now everywhere's flooded. I just need to get in a submersible." So he gets in this submersible, goes down with his teddy bear, and obviously as he's going through this dark water, the actual movie producer produces a thing that's got Geppetto and Pinocchio when he's down there. Because this is what we're talking about, the blue fairy is the Pinocchio story. And then obviously he finds the blue fairy and he's like, "Excellent, I've found the blue fairy. I just want to be with my mummy, my blue fairy." Anyway, I cry. I think it's a sad film. So,
but it was at the bottom of the ocean.
Yes, because it's all been flooded. Because obviously Noah's
again.
We've got an apocalypse. We've got an apocalypse. The human race isn't here anymore unless they've saved themselves somewhere else. It's only the electronic people and those that are perhaps, like you say, elites, people who got the memo and were able to get to safety. But everyone else is, life as we know it is gone. So he shows Pinocchio. The director, producer, in the film script, they've put a flash of Geppetto and Pinocchio. So this is now getting to, where do we see the blue fairy? And so what's she called? Oh, how do we say the lady? Azure lady. So azure is blue in Spanish. So, oh gosh, I forgot what it's called now. The other word, I want to say it's not Bella. I want to say like Belle de Azure. But anyway, Lady de Azure, the lady of blue, the blue lady. And this blue lady, we're going to be programmed and go, "Oh, I've seen that. What did I see it in? Oh, it'll be those lovely story creators called Walt Disney." And the blue fairy in the Pinocchio story, again, only Pinocchio can see her. She's the guiding light, this I can perform magic. I'm here to help you and everything like that. And so, that would be my sort of blue fairy. And then I think of like other people saying, and I think I said it to you like ages ago, then the Sleeping Beauty, that grandmother has a blue dress on as well. The Cinderella grandmother. Yeah, that's it.
So here's something interesting that most people do not know about the color blue. The human eye develops color in the order of the rainbow. So blue being last color that the human eye happens very fast in a baby. So people don't know this, but science has researched it probably by experimenting on babies, on whatever they do to find these things out. But it is the reason why blue is the last color that was, we don't have a lot of blue on the planet, and humans in ancient times didn't describe the color blue until we got to a certain stage in human times, which again, that's my thesis. So the color blue is the last color that the human eye actually gets in the order. And we can't have purple until we actually have blue and we add it with the red, which again gives you just a circular thing there. And that's why the royals like blue, purple so much, and royal blue, and then of course the purple, because that's the top. Blue's the last. It's the top. And when we have those the blue eye, that's because that's the color you've seen when you become awakened, right? If you want to use that term here, you've seen the last color. You've got every piece of that rainbow's color to put this together. Purple now, and that's why auras have that lavender or purplish glow to them when we see someone with a good spirit. We see them radiating all the color spectrum. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I like say I still go back to like saying purple is like that's it from the Murex, not Murex. The Murex snail to make Tyrian purple is the colour. So Tyrian purple, only the posh people could afford it from the inside of snail shells in Greece. So that's why royalty had purple and everyone else would have shit brown.
Baby shit yellow. That's what we used to have.
Yellow, urine yellow or urine white.
Right.
Whatever you can make with urine, that's the colour of your clothes. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. And I've just been outside. So I've just been at school. We've just done a scavenger hunt, and obviously I sit in my garden as well. I've got purple wisteria, and I've got bluebells that are a shade of blue purple. And there's blue cornflowers. Now I'm going to reel off a load of blue flowers, but there aren't many blue flowers. As I reel off a load of the blue lilac range. You have to have, oh my God, I don't know which way round now. I presume acidic would be red flowers and pink flowers, and alkaline soil would be more, like hydrangea plants. If you put a 2p under your hydrangea, it's white, pink or blue, purple. And depending on your soil, depends on the colour of hydrangea flowers. It's very reactive to its environment, and that is what produces the colour in its petals. So my wisteria is purple, and I've got these two beautiful, and I've just been to school and seen another two of them. They're called the blue common butterfly. But for a common butterfly, they're blue and they are tiny. They're a butterfly, but they're the size of a moth. They're really small, and they're not common. So it's called the common butterfly, but they are rare like hen's teeth. I've seen one in my friend's garden. I said, "Oh my gosh, you've got a blue butterfly." I can get tortoiseshell, cabbage whites, obviously. I can get peacocks, but I haven't seen blue butterflies in my garden. Now, she's by a river. I'm near a river. Whatever has happened, this particular seasonal weather cycle, I've been to a child's school, which is a bit further up the road. I've been in my own garden. To see this blue common butterfly is actually a really good sign. So, like we're saying about things might be going on funky in the air and atmosphere, but it's a good sign to see that. I've got one cabbage white yesterday as well. Perhaps the bees aren't dying. I've seen lots of hoverflies. I've seen bumblebees. So perhaps in my local area, I'm going to go. The wildlife is doing its best to whatever they're doing to get rid of it. It's not as bad as Australia, obviously, but I feel quite hopeful that the insects are quite okay in our area at the moment. Because I'm looking out for pollinators. Obviously, I can't. It's no good me having all of this fruit, because as soon as it has flowers, I need all the hoverflies and flies and bees to come and keep landing. Otherwise, I'm going to have no baby cucumbers.
Right.
They should all be self-fertilizing, but I had you need insects in your garden. End of. So put a source of water out, source of bird feeders with some bird food in. Let's get the garden, worms in the soil. Everyone's got their place, everyone's wanted. No one. The slugs. I do have a penchant for not liking very much, but they do stay around.
You need a couple ducks, and you'll have no more slugs or snails or any of those things.
Oh, you said this. I said, well, to be honest, I should just take a carrier bag and a cat cage down to the river. So if I go walk the long way round. But the other side of my fence is a river, so I can just take a duck from the local park.
Right? Just bring it home. What if you could rent them? You should have maybe somebody's renting out ducks for the day.
I could just have some nice breadcrumbs and some feed and go, come on, we're going for a walk, ducks. Quack, quack. They're pretty friendly, bit of food. I could probably walk them home from the park round the corner into my house. You might be onto something here. The ducks, where we are, there's a place where you can buy them £35 to £50. They're expensive.
Yes.
They haven't got £50 for a duck. And the men duck like a lady duck, so you've got to buy them as a pair. You can't buy birds by themselves because that's just cruel. And if you want to make them happy, you've got to have two ladies and one man. Obviously, I don't know why, but anyway, they do like being in little groups of threes. This is £150. I don't think I've got, Jodie, but it's a great idea.
No, I agree. That's a lot for a duck. I would
Yeah.
pay for a duck if you were close enough. I'd let you borrow my duck. Charge you. I'd just let you borrow my ducks for the day.
I only want them because I want duck eggs, to be fair, but you know, like I say, we've got foxes. So I don't, like you say, it'd be easier for me to persuade them to come and have a holiday in my garden by just walking them round the corner from the park and just literally just feeding them. But there's water in the river at the moment, so they're quite happy. I haven't got a river in my garden, but when it gets dry and the river dries up, they might want to come live at mine. I can tempt them in my paddling pool and swimming pool, perhaps.
Okay, back to the Blue Fairy. I'm sorry, we got off
Blue
track.
Fairy. Here we go. So Blue Fairy. I should have put this in before. So that was a good one. The Blue Fairy is also based on Isis. Now, she is the Great Mother. She's the goddess of healing and magic. So it does actually make sense that you'd have Blue Fairy as a character in Pinocchio, in our Walt Disney movie. What I found quite this is another. I don't know whether this is like completely off on a tangent. I was just looking at Isis, her picture, and obviously on her head she's got, imagine a U, and actually imagine it as being a biological a U, and then like two ovaries. You know, like it's got that symbol where it's a circle, a U shape, and a circle. Now that represents the descending lunar node, and I was going, not another moon reference. So I was like going, oh, okay, I'll just put, you know, and we talk about moonlight having a blue tinge sometimes. I don't know whether that's just one step too far.
It did. I don't know.
I don't know.
Today, but it did have a blue.
It used to. We used to draw it. There in the big blue house, it was always a blue. There's always a blue tinge to the moon. I've been programmed. And then the only other way I could see of Isis on her head. So, and then she's got a circle in the middle, and the circle would be the sun. So the only other one, the symbol that looks similar to that, would be the Taurus. So the bull horns on top of a circle symbol is our Taurus and our bull. So, and again, because we've got Taurus at the moment, and you're like going, it's kind of like a, why have we suddenly gone, I'm going to talk about a topic I've already been down that rabbit hole and done the Blue Fairy.
The Taurus, bull, nose, face, holy grail, woman, vagina, all of that.
Yeah. Mother, again, yeah, we're going back. It's just because we've been talking about AI and clones, and you know, it's in the media around us. So it's kind of like it's interesting, isn't it? How there's this trifle. There's so many layers to the trifle, and weird how we're talking about it now. So, and we're going into Taurus. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, is this a coincidence, or are there things that we can see? If, like you say, if we've got our little blinkers going on, we go, wait a second, why does that remind me of that? That reminds me of that. That reminds me of that. So,
well, that reminds me of the Mother's Always Dead. If they're the female, there's no women to have baby who can reincarnate if there's no wombs for them to reincarnate.
Yeah, womb. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling. It's lunar. It's womb. We're back to the 13 months and the lunar cycle. You know, we've just had the full moon and the lunacy that was going on a bit sort of round on that one. So then what else did I find out? Her blue cape, there was a lady, a Finnish lady, who was talking about, again, this, I don't know much about Norse and Finnish mythology and their fairy tales, and she was saying they would have the colour of the cape would denote the goddess of, you know, whatever it is. And so the goddess of the forest might have a green cape. Then she might have a brown cape, you know, perhaps for autumn and things. And then, of course, Finland had this lovely goddess of the forest who was called Mary. And those pesky Christians came along and said, oh, we like that. Can we have that in our storybook? And so they came up with the blue cape, and Christians call her Mary. So I always thought the Blue Fairy was Virgin Mary. And then, I thought it was Mary Magdalene. And then somebody else in a video mentioned the Virgin Mary. And I went, wait a second, I've got my Marys muddled up. And so then I just did a Google, and it said, Oh no, we've got Les Tres Marias. We've got the 3 Marys. I went, well, where's this other Maria? Where's this other Mary come from? I'm all married out now. I found, I found a
lot
third
of
that I didn't
Marys
know.
in the Bible. There's lots of Marys.
So there's 3. Yeah. So the Virgin Mary, mother of Jesus. Then you've got Mary Magdalene, who obviously travelled around with the disciples.
That was his best friend. His best Mary.
His bestie friend. We like friends. And Mary of Cleophas is the half sister of Virgin Mary, and some versions of the Bible just call her the other Mary, which is a bit like we say when you're talking about the black sheep of the family, just the other one, like. So again, I'm not trying to offend anybody. If you're religious and you are a Mary lover, keep doing what you're doing. I'll do me, you do you. But then I found a thing, and this was hilarious. It says, so you've got these 3 Marys. Now, in some versions of the Bible, another Trinity link, it said, oh, they're all 3 of the same. And even I'm going, you can't give birth to Jesus and be at his crucifixion and have Mary Magdalene, also his bestie friend, going around with him. Like, that just doesn't make sense. So apparently there are some people who think they wrote versions of Mary. They're all the same. They're all the one person. They've just got 3 different names or something stupid like that. But then it said, the 3 kings were their suitors, and they used to accompany them to local festivals. That's what the Puerto Ricans believe. And I went, well, I never. Now that sounds better. I've got the magic number of 6, because now I've got 3 of 3 is 6. So I've got my triangle, one the right way up, the uterus, the triangle the other way up. Suddenly this is making a whole lot more good sense. And again, that then fits in back to Finland. If they were going to local festivals, we're going back to, yeah, that's right, Mary was with the 3 kings. Like, it's a story. Before it got into the Bible, this was a custom, a practice that was already happening, but somebody's sucked it away for their own use.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking about that. And then what else were we thinking about? So we've got the Blue Mary. Yeah. So then we've got Pinocchio. I don't know where I've been in COVID. I've obviously been on Telegram, and I've missed what's been going on at the cinema, because when I put the Blue Fairy into Google, it came up with a black actress playing the Blue Fairy in a movie version of Pinocchio, and I'm going, did I fall asleep at the wheel? Did you know about that, Jamie?
Mm-hmm. No, I don't know, because I can't stand new movies.
I feel like I missed a class. I fell asleep at the wheel. What do you mean there's a Pinocchio movie? Again, I suppose, like I say, at least I haven't subjected my children. I know we've got the Little Mermaid coming out. I've known about that being in the making, but I didn't know there was a black actress playing a blue fairy in a new version of Pinocchio. So, well, that was something new to me. And then I was like, no, I'm just thinking of the cartoon picture. And then there's a cartoon picture of what looks like a blue sprite, but it's got like the upturned cat eyes at the end. And I'm going, that's not kind and loving. You're right. That doesn't look like a mother. That looks like something you want to get a fly swat at and swat dead. Like, it looks like a sprite. It looks like an imp, a sprite. It's spiky. It's not cuddly and friendly. It's, jaggedy. And I'm like going, what has someone else done to the Pinocchio story? And his Pinocchio story, oh my God, it does say, I just went through a film review, and it was just saying the blue fairy from him is, it's got like death and Hades. And I tell you what, guess who's in that film? Even though it's a cartoon, all our favourite actors and actresses, Tom Hanks, Tilda Swinton, she looks half alien most of the time, with or without her Lord of the Rings makeup, she looks like she's alien. Back to the Beach, remember, because Tilda Swinton was in The Beach, wasn't she, as the older lady, the leader. We do our own thing, but I decide who does what and when. It's a free society, but I'll tell you what to do and when.
Right. Well, I think that's the New World Order's motto, slogan. It's their little tagline.
Yeah.
It's going to be in commercials. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, that's it. Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, they're talking about that with Boris Johnson. His dad writes 3 books all about depopulation and Carrie's pregnant with number 3. Again, I went, when did we have baby number 2? I was getting baby number 1.
I don't understand how they are even still there. Why
doing it? How are they even doing it?
Why are we doing this? I have no idea. I can't understand. It's as if we're playing with Cujo. We're just outside the car, deciding to stick and throwing sticks to Cujo outside. It's insane. I've never seen anything nuts in my life. I like children. Just okay. All right, Buffa. One of your little things, because I was doing my homework and reading the links you sent me. One of them says it's going to Podesta's house. Did you see that?
Yeah. I don't know. Are you able to bring it up and we can read it off of the internet?
By Podesto. It says
it's the second one. Yes. See if you can bring that up.
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Like this is where we go. If I hadn't seen this in black and white, you'd think we were talking complete dollocks here. You're going, no, you two have completely lost the plot, and you're going, no, someone literally has got the character Podesta in their children's animation. No need. It was never in the original. And someone goes, oh, I've made this up from my own head, and you're going, Jesus crumbs, you were on drugs. Oh, are you still there? Oh, no. Is it still working?
No, yes. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
When I went to pull up that screen, it started playing our stream on YouTube, and I'm like, crap. And so I was trying, and so I just had to mute myself.
Oh, yeah. No, press stop. We don't want any strikes. Yeah, I haven't got a second device to read it. But yes, Pinocchio. It goes, Pinocchio, the blue fairy, is a representation of Hades and death. And Pinocchio coming back many, many times. And each time he does something wrong and dies, the blue fairy reincarnates him and he comes back and he's got to learn his life lesson. Well, that sounds like this whole, what do you call it? Samsara, doesn't it? It sounds like the whole coming back again. Right. Do you want to read it? I've been talking loads. I'm going to have a sip of lemonade. I've got some 7-Up here and it's quite nice, actually.
Rebecca is on it. This must be one of your friends.
Rebecca,
you sound like my friends are dorks. No, I'm just.
Rebecca is my good friend. I gave her the link, and she's in your neck of the woods as well, I think.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so I noticed that they did give it names: Mussolini, and then
the actors and actresses. Yeah, so things get kind of silly. It says again, Pinocchio joins the circus run by. Oh, go up. Yeah, this is the kind of more boring. There's spats of chew. Go up. Yeah. So the war bit is quite a long way down. So go all the way to the top. Honestly, again, I'm like going, did I miss a day at class? When did someone create? Look at this picture. Let's just talk about that picture.
Okay.
I'm sorry. This is like Japanese anime. This is kind of like if I was watching or reading like a Japanese comic and I saw this and then what are you doing, Mum? No, you can't see this. This is like mummy's images. these are not nice. These are anime. Yeah, these are adult anime. This isn't a children's movie. Look at it. Phantom of the Opera. It's got the mask. What's behind the mask? We don't know. Is the mask covering up an alien disfigurement? Because that hairline coming down like that, you could almost, suck that thing off and just like it could be covering up something. Again, going back to Green Man. So it's got the hair, hasn't it? Like Green Man would have, a hair of leaves and twigs, but all that spikiness is an imp. Like for me, that looks like Irish fairy tales, imps and pixies, and not the nice ones, the bad ones.
Makes me think of Medusa.
Yeah. Oh, Medusa. And has it got wings? Look, wings.
Yeah, the wings are weird because they have their eyes in them, and bird wings don't have that. You know who does? Either peacocks have that circular.
I can't see mine.
The dots in it. I mean, I know it's just an artist's interpretation.
Yeah, I know.
But at the same time, why is this the visual that they get? What are they trying to say as an artist? When they closed their eyes and thought, I have to draw the blue fairy, what will she look like to me? And he began to draw that, or she began to draw that. Why did she add these characteristics? So
this person was heavily vampired.
Mm-hmm. Because
they're full sizing. Yeah, so this bit, it contains spoilers. Good, because I'm never watching this crap. I'll never get the time back in my life. So, a light-hearted romp? No. It's set in fascist Italy, and the director is known for dark fairy tales. So, again, taking his inspiration from Brothers Grimm, etc. And so we've got Jiminy Cricket is Ewan McGregor. Now, I like Ewan McGregor, but again, he's like Zen Gattaca, and he's been in the same sort of films, and he is of the same, again, similar age to myself and yourself, Joni, you know, and so he's a person we've grown up with. So I hate to think he's bad, but at the same time, yep, they've certainly used him well. Then we've got Spazzatura, Kate Blanchett. Yep, wherever there's icky things going on, you'll know she's in it as well. So, yeah. Then we go down. Yes, it's this bit. So, it's also occasionally a little dark, like Pinocchio dies multiple times and hangs out with the personification of death. Levels of dark. It's all in service to a beautiful, touching story about life being precious, precisely because it ends, but it might be a bit too much for the youngest or sensitive viewers. What, in COVID, you think doing a film about death is a bit insensitive? You think?
Very good point.
Oh. Timing is everything. Nothing is by accident. Del Toro, so Del Toro set out to create a totally different kind of Pinocchio. Apart from the title, that's the only thing I can see is the same. His adaptation of the original. Now, I liked this. 1881. I like a palindrome number. It's there for a reason. So the 1881 novel by Italian satirist Carlo Collodi is unlike any other Pinocchio you'll ever see. Even the characters, who are supposed to be somewhat comforting, like the wood sprite, which is the film's Blue Fairy, are a little, I'd say majorly unsettling. To look at the Guillermo del Toro, another bull there, Toro means bull, Del Toro's Pinocchio. It's beautiful, but audience should be prepared to watch at least a few scenes peeking from behind their fingers. So you want to scare me?
Yeah.
You want to scare me? Why? I used to like Pinocchio, sort of, before the decodes. But why? Why do you want to scare me? Evil. And another bull, a Toro in the surname. Yeah, Del Toro.
Okay. So before I go any further, I want to note this. I don't know because I haven't seen it, but by reading it in the title here, it seems very classic of a lot of Disney movies, even though this might not be Disney, where I found The Lion King to be extremely violent for children. And then I went back and looked, and even like Jungle Book was very violent. They would do these shadow scenes of an attack or a brutal. Do you remember in The Lion King, they had the shadow scene where the lion was killed, right, or whatever, and then they did it again. So they had it in the beginning, and then they did it again in the end where the uncle got mauled to death.
The reprise of what's happened before, yes.
Yeah, and then in Jungle Book, they also show the gorilla's child being mauled to death in these shadow type. And so just note self there.
Joni, I still see it.
Joni, form. Yeah.
Joni, I still see a counsellor for Watership Down and Bambi.
Bambi does it too. Yes, Bambi's a great example.
Bambi's awful for a PC.
Right. Yeah. And that was really, I was in college when Lion King came out, and I took some kids that I babysat for extra money. wanted to go see it. And I remember sitting there watching. I never paid attention. I didn't go to Disney movies. When was the last time I saw Disney movies?
Yeah.
It was Bambi, right? And I started watching it, and I thought, good Jesus, these are violent. I had no idea. And then I started looking back, and Snow White, Cinderella, all of them extremely violent, and always have been. And it just really, so I've never been a Disney person or a Disney mom. I noticed back, I felt like they had a lot of, I called it at the time, shadow violence and shadow sex, sexuality.
Yeah, it's weird because my best friend, her mum and dad bought her they started when we were growing up, even though we were sort of, lower secondary school. So, we're sort of watching those soft, crazy B-movie horror movies, but then, digitally remastered, that was the word. It's been digitally remastered. Go and see, and they just sell you the, Cinderella, you've done it with Cinderella, and then they do it with it all. And so she had, imagine £10 a video, and her mum and dad bought her every single one, because once they started the collection, they felt like they had to get all of them, and they were kind of releasing them. It becomes like I say, if you hadn't bought the first one, you'd be fine. So we didn't buy any, but my friend, I do remember her house, she had a piano, because her dad, they were quite musical, and there was a shelf above the piano. So how many videos can you put on a shelf that's the length of a upright piano? So I don't like this, I hate this, but I like it. The movie starts with a bit of a backstory as Geppetto, voiced by David Bradley, I've forgotten who he is, I think he's a bit of a stunner as well, suffers an extraordinary loss when his young son Carlo, here we go, his original son dies. Oh my God, we've got it again. We've got the replacement theory again. His young son Carlo is killed when an errant bomb lands on their church. Well, were they good church people or not good church people? I don't know about that. During the events of World War I, Geppetto buries his son in a pine cone. Oh, of course it was a pine cone. Dearie me. There is a pine cone that the boy was excited about, and as the tree grows, the carpenter seems to waste away. One night, he gets drunk by his son's grave and chops down the pine tree, now home to Mr. Cricket. Then he carves it into a little wooden boy. Now we finally get to Pinocchio. Pinocchio's creation isn't a thing of wonder. This is where it's a voodoo doll. It isn't a wonder, but it's a drunken horror as Geppetto hacks and slices away at the chunks of wood. So it sounds like he's, mad scientist. He's got his axes and there's just wood chippings flying everywhere. That's what that scene conjures to me.
Yeah, I think this sounds more right than the other, because not that it's made out of love, because this makes me think of Pet Sematary.
Pet Sematary, yes, this sounds like Pet Sematary.
We're bringing back the dead, our dead children, bringing back our dead loved ones.
Yeah.
And so to me, doing it in a drunken stupor or sadness or anger, that's when it's most powerful to make manifestations take place, right?
Yeah.
I know that
because encouraging the negative because you feel negative.
Yeah.
Gosh. And this is a kid's story. Sebastian watches from a safe perch on a cuckoo clock as the carpenter wreaks havoc on his home. Often, and again, another creepy technique, isn't it? Often in silhouettes, like a sadistic axe murderer. Now, if you've been to Asia, they do a lot of shadow puppetry, and you'll have the cutout, like the paper. It's really good, it's a really fine scalpel, and it's all punched, and you've got the dragon, and you've got the warrior, and it always ends with that. And they lived happily ever after. And even this guy says, he didn't actually want to put a happy ever after, but felt like he was kind of hands behind his back. He had to. I don't know what the next bit says, but perhaps we'll find out. Sorry. But it just makes me think of that shadow puppet theatre work, because they're meant for children. But when you don't speak the language, it's there you go. I was we talking about it, or I was talking to it with somebody else. Punch and Judy. Hello, Punch and Judy. The baby gets thrown down the stairs. The baby doll gets thrown into the audience. The baby gets drowned. Punch and Judy is, like traumatic. You know,
And
I actually I paid for a Punch and Judy. I went to see a Punch and Judy at somewhere, and he had made it really nice. Actually, his crocodile had toothache and he needed toothpaste, and he gets someone from the audience to squeeze some toothpaste onto his toothbrush, and it was slapstick humour, but it wasn't violence. It was about brushing your teeth, and that'll cure his toothache, and he shouldn't eat too many sweets. And then the magician gave out loads of sweets at the end to the children. But remember, you must go home and brush your teeth. So it's all about, isn't it? You can have exactly the same puppet things and make something absolutely traumatic, or you can make it really beautiful.
Well, the thing about puppets that I don't think people recognize, because we don't really put a lot into the puppets, but puppets would have been right up there with a sleight of hand illusion back in the day. So yes. Puppetry would have seemed like magic. It appears like magic to children. And so in our history, being children at that time as our epoch, per my thesis, we would have seen puppetry as magic, including the shadow puppets. And I can imagine that on cave walls, you know, they talk about how the flames from the fire could make those pictures look as if they're running, or make the bull look as if it, you know, the herd that they've drawn there make as if they're running. And I know in Georgia, they have that laser show that goes around the Stone Mountain, and it makes the mountain almost come to life in laser form. Wow. That's a representation of that. That's all shadows and puppetry. It's an illusion, and puppets were right up there with magic tricks and all that right there. So puppets are part of the devil's handiwork, if you will.
Oh God, I was only thinking, then we've got what's the black and white swirly puppet and its head goes round, do you want to play a game? You know, right. They're trapped and they get out. Yeah. So the Saw series. Then you've got the other sort of, you know, the ventriloquist puppet, again, where it's the wooden doll and it switches its eyes. Now they did that in Toy Story, and I was a bit annoyed about that. There's I think it's Toy Story 3. Woody ends up getting kidnapped by the permanent smiling, you know, they sort of describe, you know, they're supposed to be like henchmen, you know, like they're in a toy shop, but they are creepy puppets. No need. I was quite happy to come to the cinema. I was quite happy to sit down and watch this Toy Story, but again, you had to put the fear of life into people. And it's the same. Number 2 was they're at the nursery, and the villain in that is Lotso, the sort of the pink bear thing, and it's a crusher. Well, that's kind of like one of my worst things. As I was a child, if I was on a pirate ship, I thought I was going to go into the rollers, so I could never go wee and enjoy the ride, because health and safety. I was going. I was so thin. I was like, I'm going to, you know, and you're slipping and sliding. There wasn't an over-shoulder harness on a pirate ship, so I was worried. I was literally at the end. I was going to fall in and get crushed in the rollers. So crushing is another big, obvious fear. You know, heights, fear of being crushed it's kind of like a, you know, obvious one, isn't it, really? So again, you've got that in Toy Story. Yeah, all trauma.
Yeah. Trauma fuels evolution. Okay, keep going. Let's see what else this.
What's the next paragraph going to say?
Nailed everything there. I mean, you can't miss any of those breakdowns. Yeah. That was great.
Yeah. So when Geppetto is done, he passes out unceremoniously in a corner. Oh yeah, he's so drunk. He's gone like me with Dean. Hello, my lover, and then he's passed out. And the wood sprite makes her visitation to bring the little wooden boy to life. The opening of the movie jumps from a heartbreaking sequence to a rival, the opening of Pixar's Up. So again, that's all done in silent, isn't it? Where Up has got the the young girl, young boy. They grow old together. They can't have their own children. That's the 10 minutes of Up at the start, and then so it's all about they're infertile. They've been collecting they've done everything together, but when they're a married couple and they try to have children, they have miscarriages and they can't have children. That's how Pixar's Up starts in the first 10 minutes. Crazy.
So a lot of that infertility repeat, a lot of the mom is dead repeat, and these seem to be common threads. And the idea of wanting a child being the basic instinct eating, and sleeping, right?
Yeah.
Being one of those three things being taken from us, there's only one that we can live without. We can't live without sleeping, and we can't live without eating, but we can live without a child. And
Loneliness.
right, so that's really interesting, just because, you know, I think about things that are going this way, and it only makes sense to me that if I was a human being, let's just say the devil, right, for the story's sake, I would want to make what someone else made. I'm that way. I'm one that walks into a craft fair and doesn't buy the shit, but wants to go home and remake my own version of it. That's an artist. That's what God was, remember? An artist, right? Doing what a child would do is to grow up and want to make our own life and our own babies, but we're not doing it right? That's the problem. They want to live outside of this God. They want to completely leave mom and dad altogether and have nothing to do with Father Time or Mother Earth. Probably because I believe those two things are about to disappear, because remember, time is only a very small window in the dimensions. We're only physical in time. The rest of the time we are not. And they like
there is no time.
Lots of money, so they'll always like it. Yeah. Okay.
And so funny, talking of time, it'll make you laugh. Yesterday, my partner goes to me, "Who are you talking to?" And I said, "Oh, I'm talking to Joni, and I can't leave the chat because I'm typing little tippy tap things in the chat and it's going really well." And he's like going, "Do any of these people work?" I said, "This is our work. This is how we spend our time.
This
is our choice. We choose." He said, "Does she not have a job?" I said, "No, her other half enjoys his job. He goes and does his job because that's what he enjoys doing. I don't. Yeah. We don't want to do a job, so we spend our time doing other things that make us happy. That's how we spend our time."
That's my job. I'm a mom. But I love that you said that, because I do feel like someday everyone else will understand that those of us that do this here in chat, and all of our friends that sit through and sift through all this garbage and pull out the similarities and match up you are going to thank us, because the fact that we're doing it and saying it and sharing it means that we're getting it out into the ether. We're making a difference.
We're manifesting it, because we're just saying, I've noticed, and I just want to talk about it because at least I've got it off my chest. And like you say, it might be a stepping stone. As I keep saying, as long as we keep asking the questions, we don't have to know when the stepping stones end. We don't need to know where they're leading to. Just keep asking the questions, generating the breadcrumbs. It does worry me, like you say, are we being led by AI or are we leading AI? But a lot of the things we do here, then they do filter into the mainstream media. So we must be making some sort of impact, because if it affects us, so say we would, so again, a classic one was, the stupid man, well, I say stupid, but you know, the manifestation book made it to like a mainstream, you know, show. And the lady said, "It's not really my thing, but lots of people are really into it. And here's a nice book about it." They did a thing about, I don't know if it was crystals or something. I don't know. What we're talking about, or whatever someone is doing, there's an MSM lamestream, watered down version. There's the same thing that's being offered. There's something for the high kids, there's something for the middle kids, and there's those that are 10 years behind at the bottom. You know, like for Dean, there'll be the footballers wearing a pink football kit. You know, there'll be he'll get the message, but the way the source he goes to and gets the message is completely different to my source. You know, so everyone gets the message. No one gets left behind. We're all collective. You know, we are a collective. We are a hive mind. We do buzz off of other people. And as much as you want to say, "Oh my God, the COVIDiots," like they have been getting on my wick this week. But you know, they fill the space, they fill the air up, they fill the airspace gaps up. I wouldn't be able to float to the top if they weren't below me. And no one to climb on.
Two or more together, right? Two or more together.
Yeah.
This ain't your grandma's Pinocchio. I want to break that word grandma, because that's a generational term. And so what
Oh
they're
gosh,
saying,
yes.
I'm the
This
grandma,
ain't.
right? That's for this upcoming generation. So this movie was clearly that would be an important little comment there to make, right? So this isn't grandma's Pinocchio. How old was it when Pinocchio came out? What generation was watching? That's the grandmas now. So it tells you which generation this.
Yeah, they'll be in their 60s.
Mm-hmm. So this is the alphas. This is the alpha generation, is what I'm saying here. So this Pinocchio movie, rather they're watching it or not, it doesn't matter. It's been introduced to the alpha generation. So it will be their new Pinocchio, like Disney's was ours. So you know what I'm saying? It's going to be there for them later. And and so what now that I know that, right? And I'm not thinking this is just a remake of Pinocchio from an artistic perspective. No, this is a targeted Pinocchio for an alpha generation. Now, when I'm listening to it, it's going to tell me a whole lot more because I know things about the alpha generation. Alpha generation is an artistic. No, wait. Alpha generation is a prophet generation. Sorry, give me a second to get my brain on the right page. Alpha is a prophet generation. They are the millennials' children in most of them, right? So you're going to have leadovers between cuspers, but most alphas will be born of millennial parents. The millennials are a hero generation, and they give birth to the prophet generation. The baby boomers were prophets, and they gave birth to heroes. Do you hear that? So the alphas are considered a prophet generation already. And they're the babies being, the children that are in starting elementary school now, right? So that's what they're labeled as, a prophet generation. So everything that is getting given to them today, they'll be the next ones to bring in the prophet of that visionary, right? So they're going to be feeding and sucking off the generation that came before them, which is an artistic generation. Definitely. And when they're doing that, they're getting all of their ideas for the profitable future generation of their children who will be heroes. Yes. So that's how the generational cycles go. So as I'm listening to this now, I'm thinking, what is this telling me about my children's future when they're young adults? That's what this is going to tell me.
Okay, and I'm gonna spot out something else. It's so hot in the conservatory. I've had to come in the garden. Sorry. I'm cooking. I'm like a jacket potato in there. So I was thinking of going back to, it said in 1881, Pinocchio book was written. Now, was it 1818? No, 1881. So I'm going to say, talk about fourth turning. Are we saying 80 years or 100 years? Would that bring us up sort of now up to the 2023? So therefore, you're right. In the fourth turning, the older generation, they've forgotten Pinocchio, and that's why the re-release is a marker point, because it says you need to relearn this, but we're going to reteach it to you completely different to the previous generations. And we talk about this because a lot of Disney was around, like 1935 and 38, like Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck. And at first they said, oh, it's for, all these sailors, it's to keep up morale of the troops. So they would have been brainwashed by they would have been brainwashed by Disney cartoons as well. A bit like the cigarettes, isn't it? And the cigarette smoking, have some cigarettes because you're such a brave soldier. You're a brave little soldier. Your mummy's brave little soldier going to war. So you're right. All the people that know this story, know a book of it, know an original film of it. That generation have gone. Their generation has finished, and now we need to reprogram you. And so this is the new film release. So that's another thing we can bear about when we hear about a new old. We can think, why have they done that? What is the new message you want to teach me? Back on. So let's keep going to the next bit. Pinocchio's first death, because I think this is all like samsara. This just feels like reincarnation as a big theme, and death, reincarnation, like you say, no mother. Where's Geppetto's wife? Geppetto had a wife in the story, I know.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a madman who wants a little boy. Well, a grown man. Why would a grown man want a little boy to live with him? You know, like I say, he hasn't got over his grief. They're saying he had a son who's died, so it's a grief thing. So things go all right for Pinocchio, voiced by Gregory I'm sorry, I don't know that, for a little while after his unconventional birth, and he brings a lot of light and joy into Geppetto's life. The problems start when Pinocchio gets the attention of the local townspeople, including the fascist government. The government official, here we go, Podesta. Why? Why did the official have to be called Podesta? No need for it.
Right.
Voiced by Ron Perlman, I don't know him, Podesta worries about what influence the spirited wooden boy might have on the impressionable youth of the town, and suggests that he could be a dangerous element that inspires bad behaviour. Pinocchio and Geppetto have a bit of a spat over Pinocchio's behaviour, and he ends up in the middle of a road where he gets run down by Podesta's truck. Well, that just sounds to me a lot like, we're calling it the summer of riots. I sniff, I predict a riot. So gang culture. So they're saying, oh, Pinocchio's a bad influence. He's going to gather a group of boys. They're all going to run amok. You know, they're going to do their own thing. But then he gets his comeuppance and unfortunately he's slammed down by a truck. So what's that about? Is this like Bad Boys? Yeah, we grew up. That was one of my generation teenage movies, was watching Bad Boys, you know? And it was known as the Brat Pack. All the good looking guys were in the Brat Pack.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting, too, that it's a fight that separates them. So the blame then becomes, it's my fault. Remember? So then that adds to another layer of vibration or, you know, feeling there. Mm-hmm.
And why would this town official run someone down? Well, only if their name's Podesta. That probably happens in the real Hunger Games in the woods, really, doesn't it? That's just is that just a mirror of something that actually happens, just reworded in a story?
You know what this made me think of a minute ago when I was listening to you was, as you know how we do, we go back and find these old clips of stuff and we're like, look, it says right there, they've been saying, our great grandkids gonna do that. Look, there was Podesta. They even had a movie about him, and they're like be uncovering, you know, classified documents that have been, you know, scrubbed from the internet or something. You just wonder what dots are being put in place today that we're also falling victim to. You know, unclassified UFO objects. I think that right there is completely made up. I think they were planting those files with the intent of declassifying them,
releasing,
sound more realistic, as if they're keeping it from you. That's the secret, and we know their secret, but that's not the secret. There's another secret.
No, look here, not there.
Come on, you think this is the first of my outfit changes? I've got 10 outfit changes in my act, bitch. You know, you ever seen those?
So that next bit just says they see his little broken body. Why? It's a children's movie. That only again, this goes back to Clone Wars and clone fights, back to the movie AI, where there's a pit and you've got human faces, but you've got bent up arms, bent up legs, and the worst ever, you know, like you should never walk out of a movie theatre, but the worst theatre was the film Crash. It's the one that was done by Kubrick. It's not Crash with Tandy Newton. There was two films. This goes a bit to like Mandela Effect, and someone would be like, no, you've got the wrong film. You're like, no, there were two films with the same title. One is called Crash, where weirdos go for a car meet, they do drag races, and they purposely crash into walls and things, and the more disfigured they become, they then have to, they say the more disfigured they become, the more attractive they are to the other person. Now, it isn't 18, so there's car sex and that, but people have got bionic legs, bionic arms, where bits of them have broken and they've had to be replaced. So again, that goes back to we're calling about mechanization and robots. So again, that film is appropriate for now, but when you're watching it then you're going, what kind of shit is this? It's awful. Everyone was walking out of the theatre. We're quite tough and we stayed till the end, but I don't know why. It's only because I was like, I've paid my money now, I want to know how this finishes. But it was an awful film. There's not a good storyline, sex for the sake of sex that doesn't have anything to do with the plot line, gratuitous close-ups, and like, so she like when she first meets someone, she goes, oh, can I touch it? and she touches his scars and gets turned on by it. You know, like, it's just ridiculous. It was sick. And, you know, just again, that bit, they'll be like this. Don't watch it, the film. Just read Crash. But I'm sure it's a Kubrick film. It's got someone, or is it whoever directs it anyway? It's not the Tandy Newton one. That's the same title but different movie. This, whoever the director producer is, you'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You know.
Right.
Cronenberg, isn't it? Cronenberg, not Kubrick. Cronenberg, perhaps. Have I got that right? Corona.
This film, I don't. That's irrelevant. Now, I wanted to say something about this picture, because this is the picture of him in the road, all broken. Right. Okay. Now,
it's so dark on my phone, I can hardly see it. Can you graphically describe it? I can just look like a dragonite to me.
Very best, Buffa, to graphically describe it. Okay, just looking at it now, we're all women. Just look at it as if it. To me, it looks like the placenta. It's got the red, the blue.
Oh, yep.
And then the leaves and the way that the sticks. He looks like
I
he's in a placenta.
Yeah.
Right? I've got a print of mine on the wall, so I know very much what it looks like. It looks like a tree. It's beautiful.
Yes, that's it. That's how they should look.
Yeah, and so this made me think of that. This is a near-death experience.
Tree of life, yeah. Placenta. Right. We're talking about, what was he made of? He was made from wood and wooden trees. Trees have roots. You're right, a placenta is a tree of life.
Yeah. So I rather liked that. I think that was worth stopping and noting before we continued, because when it was reading it, I said, that's the picture at the top, I believe. And then I pulled up and I thought, with that red and the blue, the purple being the eye, right? The eye of the peacock feather, the middle.
Oh, God.
Just all that symbolism there. It really shows you more than anything how detailed an artist gets with their work. How much they really throw in there. There's way more than just that right there. Nobody sees that, but unconsciously we all see the placenta. We all see that, even though we don't think we see that. You see it.
Yeah.
And
you said the same with props in. Yeah, you said about props in films. Well, obviously, in a animation, you have plenty of time. You can stretch things out. You can squash it. And if you see it looks like something, you were meant to see it. But again, everyone's got eyes. Some people will see it, and some people just walk past it.
That's one of my superpowers. So there's lots of us in these rooms. You have it. And Rebecca clearly has it. I know Mr. Jones and Ricky do. We all have it. We all see these things that no one else seems to see. Do you not see that?
I'm jumping up and down going, have you seen this? And my partner's just like,
no. You don't know what that says.
My children see it.
Yeah.
My children see it. I'm like, can you not see it now? There's 3 of us in the room that can see it. Can you not see it? And he's like, he just, like, his the classic is the shoulders will just go, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean, Yogi Bear? What do you mean? I don't know. For Pete's sake.
Oh man, it's coming down the track. You see the light, and they're like, "What light? Over there? No, right there. It's light. They're pointing at it. Quit." You know what, people? One of my funniest things I find interesting about human behavior is that when we go, it's over there. They look without seeing where you're pointing. And where? And you go, look at my finger. And follow the line. That's why I'm pointing towards it. I find that to be so funny that we do that people, I know some people that repeatedly don't look. I'm pointing at it and they just turn around and look there. Look at my finger.
Start on my shoulder and follow it all the way to my ribs. I had to describe something. One of my small people, it was probably the youngest, goes, what? Where? I said, see my arm? My arm's connected to my wristies. My wristies are connected to my handies. There.
Oh my God.
He was winding me up. This goes back to the apocalypse, doesn't it? Quick, the volcano has running lava. Daddy Bear. Whoa. Too late, Yogi Bear. I've gone. Whoosh! Roadrunner's gone with the 2 children already. Yogi Bear. Oh, where's my picnic? I think I'll just go make a sandwich. We ain't got time for a sandwich. Get a move on. What is your... I've been using Full Metal Jacket. What is your fundamental problem? Get with the program, soldier. I see stupid people everywhere. I don't think we're going to make the serious 9 o'clock news. And tonight on the BBC, Jodie and Buffa Bee attempt to explain everything that Mariana Springs says is disinformation.
Oh my.
Oh, crumbs. Yeah. So the audience gets to see his little body. That's terrible. Oh, red. Oh, lit by the red brake lights on pedestrian's vehicle and is genuinely disturbing. Pieces have broken off and it's clear there's not any left when it's traumatic stuff. And it continues to get darker. How much more darker can you get than dying? Bagom, he's the lead character. First rule of Fight Club: don't let your lead character die. Everyone else gets picked off. We know this in Alien. You're like, you've only got one line, you're dead.
He has a near-death experience. That's what this is. He's out of body, lying in the road, clinging to life in his placenta of the road.
Oh, okay.
And he's having a near-death experience, and this is what he has: the death in the realm of the dead. He goes to...
Look at this. How horrid is that image there?
The tour, the mask, go.
Proper tourist. Yeah, proper Torah bill. That's a bull, isn't it? I'm sorry. You could say Aries Ram, Oh, yeah, that's it. Good. Thank you, Rebecca. Got to have the red because it's another traumatization. Come on, red equals blood. It's a cartoon, but we can still use colours. This, again, this is like you say, it isn't blue. It's very purpley, isn't it? And the eyes. This is, we've got Lego. Oh, Scooby-Doo Zombie Island had real witches and evil. Yes, no, Scooby-Doo, again, was masks. We've watched Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo 2, but again, I've sat and watched it, and then I'm going, this was supposed to be a kid's movie, and it really isn't. It's, again, it's not.
That reminds me, remember yesterday when we were talking, and I forgot what I was saying. Now I've just remembered it. Look at that. I was thinking about that. You know how they keep showing videos of the politicians with masks on? They're clearly showing you it's a mask. He's scratching his neck with intent.
Oh, yeah. Biden mask.
And I thought, what if they pulled the masks off one day and what we see is, in fact, the reptilian alien or some type of other being, some type of whatever they're going to see. We've been here the whole time. But we are not going to see that. We're going to see holographic pictures of that. There's still another mask underneath there, like we were saying earlier. And a lot of people would get tricked by that and believe that it's taken over and begin killing people and freaking out and all these things. And then, of course, that I also believe that the UFOs up there are actually our own children with VR, thinking they're on another planet and we're attacking Earth or whatever, and we're going to be they're going to be. I've seen it in movies.
Yeah, this sounds familiar. Yeah,
thinking that the humans are the monsters, but they're not. Anyway,
I think that was, yeah. I think that was what we were talking about. The zombies could just be like we're talking schizophrenia. You could or like say DMT. There are big, hairy, fat spiders on the ceiling, and someone else says, no, there is not. But if you see big, fat, hairy spiders on the ceiling, that's what your brain chemical messages are telling you.
Yes. And you will react. Real or perceived fear makes you react. Real or perceived.
Yeah.
You only have to think you're going to hit me, and I will do whatever it takes. And that's what I think they're doing. They're blurring the line between reality and perceived reality. And now they rip those masks off one day, standing up, I declare myself president, and whoever rips that thing off, and we all see. And now suddenly, and all that was all an illusion from the get-go, the slant eyes and all of the Gaia and all of that, whatever Christianity and UFOs, all of that has been another illusion to just trick another group of people that will fall for that fairy tale and
We
drink
feel like
Kool-Aid. I'd do it. If I was doing it, it'd be an idea I'd come up with, and they'd be like, Joni, you're fucking brilliant. And I'd go, I know. Why don't you pay
me? We do feel like we're at that. So I sent you, we got Klaus, Scrub Klaus, but then you've got Claws, Claws, is the nemesis who strokes, the hand, again, robotic hand that strokes the white pussycat in Inspector Gadget movie. And when you read down, what does he do? Well, he does terrorism, steals people's money. Basically, he does everything that our governments do. Like, again, please, if you're really bored, put Claws as in the villain of Inspector Gadget and look at his special powers like a top trump card. And you're going, that's exactly what the government do to me every day. It's amazingly accurate.
Right. They've been telling us the whole time that the monsters are business. They're rich people in business suits. Yeah. The devil is in a lawyer's suit, right? They've been telling us that forever. Doctors have God complexes. These are not a language that's thrown around willy-nilly, but for some reason, us human beings sure do like money, and we have fucked the Nephilim to our own detriment, and now our children are going to take and destroy us. That's what's happened. We have made little narcissistic monsters because we are attracted to power. We are attracted. We got to take ownership of it.
So. There was a news article, and wasn't it two men police were holding guns and a group of children, and they passed the guns to the children so that they can learn how to use like automated weapons. I can't remember if that's a movie scene or that was a news clip, but I think it was a news clip somewhere. And what I'm trying to say is, perhaps it was Mexico or something. And what I'm trying to say is, it goes back to child soldiers. Now, obviously, there's been some terrible wars where this has been, guerrilla warfare, where you can even say like Vietnam, where child soldiers, women soldiers were given a weapon and told they're the enemy, shoot at them, don't ask questions, just shoot at them, And so if we are having Generation Alpha with all of this, extra layers of violence, extra layers of go to an institution, sit down, shut up, do as you're told. If we don't raise people who can say, no, I'm not doing that, then you're not empowering children. You are creating a new slave army, aren't you? And that is worrying.
Well, that made me think, a child. I'm a child. You're a child. We're still a child of Christ. We're only in our adolescent stage. We're just now getting into the age of Aquarius. We're just now having our rite of passage or our bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah. We're just now turning 13. We're the 13th generation. It even calls us that, right? So
we haven't even got into Aquarius. We're still at the start as well of Aquarius. We're not full under the, like you say, these children, when they're in their 20s and 30s, they'll be properly into the age of Aquarius, where we're like, we've come from another generation. Like you say, it's like we are off planet. We have come from another generation. The things we say, the things we see, our lived experience is going to be so completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different.
I'm saying as a whole, regardless of your generation, your age is irrelevant here.
No. Adolescence is humankind in adolescence. Yeah.
That's the child, and that's what they want to control. It's not just about the children. They go after the children, most definitely. But we are also victims. We were all once children who were victims of these people as well. That's why we respond the way we do now. We're blaming the victim for having a response to the crime that was committed against them. So generational name blame games of, well, it's their fault or it's your fault. It's nobody's fault. We were all victims. And my behavior today is only an expression of what took place as my generation was growing up.
All hoodwinked. And funny you say that, because it's been on we had local elections, but constantly the same overused line. Well, if basically if the red party get in, we'll end 13 years of the blue party being the baddies. And there are normal people phoning in saying it makes absolutely no difference who I vote for now. It is, and I'm like going, wow. And they've let this go on. And a guy phoned in and was saying the same about Ukraine and Russia, and he goes, nobody wants this. The only people who are actually making this perpetuate, it's costing us a hell of a lot of money, and we need that money for ourselves, but the only people who want this are the actual leaders themselves. So he said, if you actually ask all of the people don't want this. And he said this is, and then it was in a sort of a discussion of replace the leaders, but the commentator, he still managed to twist it and go, oh, that's a very valid point, but he still overspoke what he rounded up and concluded what the caller had said, but twisted it into MSM speak. And I was going, no, that's not that. You've summarized what the caller said incorrectly to still fit your bias that Ukraine needs. He goes, well, we all want Ukraine to win, and yes, hopefully Putin is, Putin bad, Ukraine good. That's how he finished it. But the caller said, no, I don't want it all ended. Like the caller did not phone in with that bias. Sorry.
Bless you. You're so good looking. Oh, there. I thought you blessed yourself out of the room.
Fairy dust got up my nose. That's the problem with being a fairy. You can't sniff your own dust.
You probably shouldn't be.
Oh dear. It's that lemonade. It's the bubbles. I don't have 7-Up. I have like plain water, or I have beer. It's the bubbles of the. It's nice, but the bubbles just tickling my nose, and it's really sunny. It's hay fever as well.
Yes, of course. So in this picture too, they've got the hourglasses in the background. You see those? With the
crumbs! I'm on a tiny screen. Yeah, you're gonna have to describe it to me. I've got sunglasses. Oh my goodness me!
I can do for you, but
that's fine.
It does have I'd have to look more at the real image, but it definitely.
It's a sphinx. Is it a sphinx as well? It's got the paws at the front,
or the hands. These almost arms.
The sphinx.
The sphinx, yeah. With these mandible things coming out, they are very insect-like.
Insect, mantis.
And the horns look very scorpion, and it's there. It's all there. So it's very, you know what though? This is almost too easy. I think to break down movies today seems as if they pull out a book and they open it up and go, okay, I got to have some astrology and some and some
sprinkling of this, sprinkling of that, perfect truffle.
Yeah, it's all kind of too easy, but we'll keep going. Here we're down in the pits. We're in the realm. So he's having his near-death experience. I've had one of these. This is
that's another big topic. We need to go pick that one apart. We need to pick it apart, suck on the bones, and chew the marrow out of that one. So this I was a bit like, seriously? Are you serious? Pinocchio ends up carried down to the underworld. So we're going back to Greek mythology as well. Hades, that's all I can think about. By the seriously cool-looking black rabbits. Nope. Alice in the Looking Glass, we got White Rabbit, again, Kronos and time. I'm late. And now they've got black rabbits. Well, that's got my goat up straight away. Basically, the world's cutest but creepiest pallbearers to meet their master, Death. Death, voiced by Tilda Swinton, of course, is a haunting creature that draws clear inspiration from both sphinxes. Oh, sorry. Oh, gosh. So it's in the text.
That just shows how good we are. That just shows that it's obvious. Right.
Yeah. Clear inspiration from both sphinxes and chimeras, with a lion's mane, feminine human face, goat horns, and snakes instead of tails. Oh, back to Medusa. Good. Like her sister, the wood sprite, she is covered with eyeballs, harkening back to Guillermo del Toro's Angel of Death design from Hellboy 2, which is an 18 film. The eyes are all over the wings of the wood sprite, and Death's horns are reminiscent of the descriptions of biblical angels, which fits with the director's regular use of Catholic imagery, starting all the way back in the devil's backbone. Well, I never. Got a bit of religion in there as well. You go to the cinema to go watch Pinocchio, and we're going to put a little bit of religion in there to just mess you up if you're someone who feels like they're grounded or has a grounding in that. We're going to upturn that apple cart and, you know, make sure everybody is properly messed up. Death is surprisingly warm and kind, despite being, you know, Death. But her realm is still pretty creepy, and her warnings are appropriately ominous. She explains to Pinocchio that he can die many times, but will have to wait longer to return to life each time. But that eventually he will simply wait with her, Blue Angel, the Blue Fairy, and the AI boy, forever. That's a bit of existential mind-blowing even for an adult, so no wonder poor Pinocchio doesn't quite grasp the gravity of the situation when he returns to life once more. So that did remind me of the AI little boy, and he just stares at the Blue Fairy. So he doesn't die, but he just stays looking at his Blue Fairy the whole time, you know. So in this one, they're gonna, let's have a bit of death. You can die and you can come back. Now, this is the bit where I'm like going, I don't get this. So this is why it was set in fascist Italy and it's World War One. It says training for war instead of going to Pleasure Island. Now, before we read the next bit, so did you, in your perception of programming of Pinocchio, I don't know, whenever I looked at it before, you know, ages ago, I was under the impression they were turned into donkeys, ASS, but it was to do with child sexual exploitation. You've got a group of debauched men and they've got these young boys. So that was my representation of Pleasure Island in using like adult speak for the book. What did you ever?
I actually don't know Pinocchio. I've seen it when I was a kid and that was it. I've never really, up until just recently when, you know, I was learning about different things, have I come across it. Figured, you know, it's going to be no different than really any of the rest. So you know a lot more details about it than I do.
The connection was, it said, so again, I think, I know what it said now. It's on a Disney decode. It's a Disney decode. Someone's done a Disney decode and they've put Pinocchio in it. And they've said the whole point of that they're in like the child snatcher cage, because there's one where they've got there's a Disney, that's it, I get it now, they're going along a rickety path, there's a sly fox, and for a bunch of queens, you know, you can sell the boys to like this a man, and they're put into like cages like the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That's what it is in the cartoon version, like the really old one. And then there was like they were making the boys as donkeys. They've been like magic spelled into donkeys, and they're jumping through hoops and fire, and they're getting burnt, they're getting abused. You know, I'm too weak, I can't go on, I can't work anymore, I can't do whatever the adult has told me to do. And like the ringmaster gets his whip out and whips them. But there was a strong, when the person in the video that I watched, there was a very strong, if you put the word sexual and then you watch it, you're like going, bloody hell, this is horrendous. Right. You know, it really, it's, but you know, as a kid, you're going, oh, it's just donkeys jumping through hula hoops. And then,
right.
Yeah.
You don't see the reference.
Yeah. But when someone points it out to you, once you can see it, you can't unsee it. So that was my memory. And then this has said, oh, we're not going to do that. But this is what I mean, I can't tell. Mules get castrated, of course. Yes, going back to eunuchs. That's it. Those boys that go to Pleasure Island. It's this isn't, again, we've got Tinkerbell, you know, Peter Pan, haven't we, as well? And the Lost Boys on that island as well. Why have we got this group of little boys, like you say? Why is it not little girls? We've got little boys, no parents, you know, orphan. Oh, we had Orphan Annie. She's the girl version movie later on. But where are the parents? They're unloved, they're uncared for. Why are they unloved and uncared for? Oh, they're just naughty children. No. They're unloved, they're uncared for, and they've been kidnapped. They've been kidnapped by an adult. And the adult that's looking after them, isn't kind. There you go, Oliver, haven't you? Please, sir, can I have some more? Oliver in the orphanage. Charles Dickens, all the stories there. You don't see Charles Dickens goes, and one day the children were all having a lovely time playing with their toys. It's always awful, isn't it? Programmed to be awful, the worst of sit in the corner, don't move, you'll get shouted at. We're not going to feed you. We're left with it must have been terrible to be a child. Well, people survived long enough to make new humans, so some people weren't having a hard time. Come on.
Well, in like the X-Men, for example, and I know they have lots of psychological experiments that they claim they don't do, but in the X-Men, if you remember, they basically have to get their powers, to see what they have, they're basically tortured, right? So it's not until the person reaches their breaking point or their big blow
that their power expresses itself. Yeah, isn't that
right?
Magneto or X? They're all in a house of children again. No parents around. You have a special power. Come to my boarding school.
Exactly. You
get you away from your parents.
And it always comes out in anger. It always shows up in fear. It always manifests at a time where they're flight, fight, or freeze, and they're fight. Even in like say Resident Evil with the character Alice, who just thinks she's a girl who's woke up, has no idea what's going on, and then all of a sudden the guys come in and something kicks in her brain. She's got all this unknown super ninja moves, right? But we see that in lots of movies. Buffy's the same exact way. Buffy reaches adolescence, and what happens? She starts kicking ass. She can suddenly see things she couldn't see. This is all this is all metaphors to what happens to the adolescent awakening mind, moving from one stage to another and recognizing you have superpowers, that you have some kind of abilities. And then you spend your whole teenage years and young adult years trying to figure them out. So either you become fearless and jump out of planes or join the military, or maybe go and because you're a good talker. You have gifts. We're not necessarily saying you're going to light things on fire, although that could be a gift.
I want that telekinesis. I want to be able to just look at something and say, I can't be asked to get up. Can you just come here, please? I just want to talk and look at an object, make it hover, and then just come land in my hand.
That would be nice. Clean my house. I used to watch that Bewitched and be like, I want that. I want to wiggle my nose in my house. My whole room is clean.
Yeah, I'll have the Fantasia, the mop that does all the cleaning, the Cinderella's house, Snow White, all the birds come in, they don't crap everywhere, they get on and do the housework. I could start putting the bird seed from the garden into my conservatory, like the ducks. Come here, little animals, can you clean my house?
Okay, I should say this, Ulick is now Ulick. He's no longer me. He showed up. So when he's chatting, I won't type in the chat anymore. So now.
Oh, so Ulick is Ulick and Joni is Joni. Okay, because if you're new to this, we have to explain that because of Sin Bin.
I'm in trouble, and I'm having to borrow a friend's place for my secret underground meeting. And
secret special club. This is secret special club. I did put the link out on Telegram, but they're like, can I really handle Buffa talking? And then Buffa and Joni, well, for some people that's just a cake in heaven. For other people, they're going, my ears and brain, I'm not in the mood for that. I need the men talk where the men talk slow and long. Different horses for different courses. Different times of the day.
We're awesome too. Yeah. And it's fine. We're awesome. I like us. I like the way our mind thinks. That's why I like talking to you. So,
we jump around.
People that also like us. There's 6 of them currently.
Thank you, friends.
6 people in all the world love to listen to you and I banter back and forth about Pinocchio. Okay.
Cool. Special powers. When I was cutting that hedge today, because it's for a church. I don't go to the church, but I cut the hedge. But anyway, I started doing it a while ago, and I kind of like it. I'd go take my, just get on and do the job. I've done half of it today. I'll do the other half tomorrow. Anyway, I had 3 different people. There you go. What's my special power? I'm in my element, and I have to cut this pyrocanthus is really spiky. And every time I sweep the thing, I have to then hand pick out every single clipping. Now, the previous person hadn't done that, like men, and they'd cut the hedge and they'd just buried all the clippings in it. And what happens is then every autumn, all the leaves would fall out onto the pavement on the other side because the ground was higher on the church lands than the sort of the public pavement. And you're going, if you just picked up your clippings as you go, not bury them under the hedge, it'd be a much neater job. So I've been doing that for the last couple of years. And the last time I cut it was in August. So I meant to do it in Easter, and I was like going, meh, too cold. I'm not feeling the love. But I'm quite happy doing work in my shorts and my time. I'm not in a time pressure. So I'm just sweeping my hedge trimmer, pick up the leaves with my special gloves, doing it, slowly moving along 50 metres of pyrocanthus hedge. I've done 25 metres today. And one person says, oh, well done, you're doing a really good job. Now, I'm not being big-headed. I do attract them. I do attract the lame ducks, but I do get lots of compliments, and people are like, oh, do you want to do mine? And, oh, you're doing a really good job. I do get lots of pats on the back. I don't do it for that, but I do get lots of thanks. And I had 3 people, like the bin men. I said hello and have a good day. This other man, I said, oh, thank you very much. And you too, have a good day. So, and another man was going to the shop getting his morning paper and then walking back to his house. He had a chat with me as well. So, yeah, I had 3 randoms. There you go. I managed to pick up 3 randoms with an hour's lot of head trimming today. There's my special power. And I wasn't even asking for it. I just looked like I was okay to approach, obviously. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is really hard. Things stay kind of silly for a little bit, relatively speaking, as Pinocchio joins up with the circus run by the villainous Volpe. Now, change that O for a U. Volpe means fox. Volpes is the genus, and Volpe is the Volpe is fox, basically. So that's it. That's VOLPE. Yeah, no, I'm going to say, is that fox in Spanish or another language? It's so close to Volpe for fox. I'm going to call that Mr. Fox there. And we know that, again, in my old version, there's a fox that kidnaps. The fox is the villain. So there's a fox and then a round like a Cheshire cat, but there's a round, fat tummy character and a skinny fox character. So perhaps that's why they've called him Volpe as well from the original. In order to earn money for his father and avoid being drafted to fight for Mussolini, the circus isn't exactly the happiest places in the world, and Pinocchio manages to create a sort of friend in the monkey Spazzatura. Then Pinocchio is taken to perform for Mussolini himself. It gets dark again because the little wooden boy with a heart of gold performs a rude, rebellious song that gets him summarily executed. Of course it does. When he comes back to life, he's being taken by Podesta to learn how to fight for the fascist regime with the other young boys, including Podesta's own son, Candlewick. Now, there is in the original a running away part. And this goes back to, in some parts there's a running away scene, in other edits there isn't. So perhaps that's a nod to that part. But again, why would you put that in a kid's movie, an execution? Get used to it. Oh, I tell you what, someone was on a thing. I quite enjoyed that. Oh no, it was the Crow House. So Max Egan goes, we want to execute these people, and then we want to have numbered coloured baskets so that, like Hunger Games, people can guess which basket their head rolls into.
Okay. Well, this kind of made me think, first of all, it's another little wooden boy in there. So without seeing the movie, going by here, he says he sees,
or is he wooden with other boys?
Another little wooden boy.
No, I'm thinking they're humans.
Pinocchio manages to make, and it's, he says when he's taken to perform, it is Pinocchio.
Yeah, Pinocchio's performing.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, no, I think there's only one wooden character.
Right, so then the little boy performs
There's a monkey at the circus.
Summoned similarly. So he was told. Is that what that means? Summarily.
Summarily executed quickly. Like
okay.
You're guilty. Quick, off with your head.
Summon.
You know.
That's what I'm thinking. Like summon the executioner. Summon him.
Yeah.
Now. Okay.
Summarily executed.
But he comes back. Oh, that's him. Oh, gotcha. Okay, I see what's happening. All right, put a line right here between this top section and the bottom section. So he has this near-death experience, right? So he's had his near-death experience up here. Let me make sure I'm understanding where we're at here. And so then he's taken. Oh, I see. Because when he was in the near death, it said he can die a bunch of times. But one of these times, okay, so you're going to die, and one of these times you're going to stay.
But he's taken a friend. So the guy who knocked him down, Podesta's own son, becomes his best friend. So he's now got another friend. Not necessarily wooden, like a human person, but Podesta, who run him down and killed him one time, still wants him to fight in this army. And he said, and his own son, then Podesta's got his own son in it. So, like you say, and then it says, skim down. They're trained to kill instead. So instead of the donkeys, they're trained to kill. So we just talked about that. And there's a training camp that's bombed, and Podesta dies right in front of his son. There you go, Bambi.
Oh, right here.
The parent dies.
Oh, I see.
So Pinocchio's friends with Podesta's son. Podesta dies because of obviously we're in war. There we go. We've got a parent dying.
Mm-hmm. And he makes in the wick burns at both ends.
Candlewick is his name.
Right.
Candlewick is his character name.
Burned at both ends.
Burn.
Right?
Oh yeah, burning.
If he's the son of if he's the son of the bad guy and then the best friend of the enemy, that puts him burning at both ends. Do you get it?
Yeah.
But the training camp soon bombed, and then Podesta dies. Okay.
Then it gets this is the bit. It says then someone decides. Go on.
I'm just was gonna say basically he's dying over and over again.
Yes, he repeatedly dies. This is the next way he dies in the film. If you didn't get the memo the first time, he then almost gets burned at the stake before being let down. So keep scrolling. Like again, so we've got burning bush. Again, if you're a Christian, let's use your cross and fire, burning witches, that whole thing. So because he embarrassed himself performing for Mussolini in Italy, his punishment was to be summarily executed. Obviously, he can't just have his head chopped off or a nice clean killing. He's got to be slowly burnt to death, which is one of the most traumatic ways to die. Then it says the wooden boy is saved once more by someone he's built a friendship with. As Spazzatura, that's the monkey, steps in to rescue Pinocchio from the flames and knock Volpe to his death. So that's the villain. Free from worrying about fascist regimes or angry circus owners, Pinocchio is left to contend with only the ocean and a massive dogfish. Sounds like Cetus in the sky again. The dogfish that swallows him up. Is this the Jonas and the whale? That kind of thing as well. The good news is that he's reunited with Geppetto and Sebastian deep inside the belly of a fish. And their escape ends with Pinocchio dead once more and Geppetto headed towards certain doom. So this is then it gets really freaky. They're going to do what do you call it? Freaky Friday. A heartbreaking sacrifice. Pinocchio is now dead. He meets with Death and says, please now send me back. But she was saying, you've had all your chances, almost like a cat with 9 lives. You're supposed to be staying with me. And he says, no, please, can I go back? I might be able to save Geppetto. The thing is, if Pinocchio does that, he will have to do it as a real boy, a mortal. And unfortunately, this probably means you're going to die for real. And it will be permanent. And he says, no, I'm going to obviously sacrifice myself for Geppetto. So he takes that risk. He saves Geppetto, dies in the process, and now the poor man's weeping over the second son who's now dead. The wood spirit, the blue fairy in this case, returns, and Sebastian trades the one wish he earned from her, I don't know how that works out, to bring Pinocchio back to life. So a friend, another mystery character, brings Pinocchio back to life one last time and begs for his child to be brought back. And it all works out. The family's reunited and able to live happily together. But there was a bit afterwards that says the guy who wrote it didn't want that to be the ending. Look, Del Toro wasn't content. I was quite happy with there just being a swap, a trade-off. Why do we have to have another character step in and rescue and bring back to life thing? If you look at the pine cone without getting a little teary-eyed after watching Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, you might be dead inside. Guillermo, what does that name remind me of? Guillermo is oh gosh, I can't ask the kids. Guillermo is another character. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is now streaming. Gargamel. Yeah, Gargamel. Yeah, there's Guillermo. Guillermo is a bad
chat a minute ago. Gargamel.
Yeah, Gargamel. Definitely. Blue Smurfs.
I want to know.
Blue Smurfs do magic. There we go. Blue fairies do magic, so do the Smurfs. Smurfs are blue little fairies.
There you go.
There we go. It all makes sense. All makes sense.
Would have wanted his movie to end. He says he didn't like the happily ending. So how do you think he wanted it to end? It doesn't say there.
No, Pinocchio comes back as a real boy, saves his father from, the big fish, the whale. The father goes, "Oh, I'm so sad. Pinocchio's now died, rescuing me." The end, full stop. He didn't want the hero to survive. He wanted the hero to die.
Right,
but I think that was it. That was the full stop.
He says Del Toro wasn't content to end the story with happily.
No, that's what I'm saying. He would, the person, Del Toro, would stop it as soon as Pinocchio has rescued his father Geppetto. There's been that exchange, my life for your life. Geppetto goes, boo-hoo-hoo, Pinocchio is now dead, full stop. But instead, it ends with another character, Sebastian, bringing Pinocchio back to life. That's the bit I think was an add-on.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. That's a blonde moment. Thanks for explaining that.
That's okay, Joni. Go to the back of the car.
But, no, okay. So, so why do you think he would have picked it to end right there? Why do you think the artist himself, minus the Disney influence, because I still have a problem with the happily ever after myself. I actually think that it is not what happens. I don't think there is a happily ever after, because there's only a happily ever for a little while. And just after this for a minute, and then the cycle starts again. So to me, part of the illusion is convincing everyone that at the end of all of this, there's a happily ever after. There's only a temporary reprieve before it starts to go again. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The Grimm brothers and the Grimm brother fairy tales is a collection of all the other tales. They didn't have a happy ever after. You're supposed to be left going, "I'm scared. I better not do that. Otherwise that might happen to me."
Mm-hmm.
You're not, you can end things and not have a happy ever after. All of those, the myths and tales normally have a not happy ending. Look, they did this, then they died, and now they're in the sky as stars. Mm-hmm. But Grimm brother fairy tales, and I'm only saying it because they're the people that kind of plagiarized, collected together folk tales. And again, like that other lady was talking about that I found on the internet, she's Finnish, and I'm sure there must be Norse things. Why would you say don't walk on the ice in summer, if you live somewhere cold, because it's thawed out, it's thawing because it's coming into spring and summer. Like all of these are precautionary tales for stupid people,
right? Well,
and so when you say a happy ever after, you're kind of you're glossing over the fact, no, not everyone does come back to life. That was a more fitting ending. He was if he was a spoiled brat, if he was selfish, he then becomes real, which is fantastic. But in being real, he goes, thank you for bringing me, creating me into the world. I give my life up for you, my father, because that's how much I love you. The end. You don't need the other lead character, Pinocchio, to come back to life. I'm quite happy with a sad ending.
Well, isn't that? But you know what's making me think of? Okay, so I immediately think of the idea that they represent people stepping in front of someone else to save their life as the most honorable thing to do, right?
Oh, yes.
An honorable death is to look it in the face and fear not, right? So we know that from 300 and those types of films, right? And Harry Potter being one reference I think most everyone is familiar with, where the mother steps in front and it's her life that saves. And they talk about her mother a little, or his mother a little, but not very much. But definitely she put that in there that created that connection between these two. And same thing happens with, say, Star Wars. I believe the mother dies delivering the children, blah, blah, blah.
Princess Leia. Star Wars, Princess Leia.
Yeah.
The girl always dies. The men have got all the weapons.
It does. Poor girl. Yeah. No, she doesn't, because in the horror movies, she always survives. She's the only survivor. That's the Scream Queens.
Scream Queen. I was thinking Scream, yeah.
Fabulous genre for me as a kid was because the girls always did defeat the evil. Now, it came back, but it was a big metaphor for what it's like to be a woman in general. It just feels like it's a nonstop barragement of narcissistic pricks trying to get in your panties. And you can defeat them. You can Kill Bill them. I love Kill Bill as well.
I like Kill Bill. I watched that the other night. Kill Bill 2 is my favourite, and because I like the Chinese fight scenes, like that's brilliant. But obviously, Daryl Hannah and Uma Thurman with the snake being thrown around the caravan, small space.
Love it.
Why I was pressing rewind and watching that and laughing my head off. I've watched that quite recently, and everyone else went to bed.
They try to convince me now that Kill Bill was done with strings. Here again, now let me have a moment to throw around for a minute, because this goes along with everything that they're showing us at the moment with NASA's being exposed, as you can see the bubble. They're making you see them. They want you to see them, because I watch Kill Bill and you don't see any of those things, do you? In those scenes, even in the Matrix, there's not any scenes that you see any cords or bunches of pads. They've had the ability. It's not technology, it's just computers, but they've had the ability to make that so real way longer than they even tell us. So either NASA is way behind Hollywood, or there is a reason why they want everyone to see behind that curtain, that Oz that's behind that curtain.
Oh, yeah.
The false god. You get me? Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, to talk about that, my favourite film, another subtitle film, Kung Fu Hustle, is hilarious. My favourite kung fu movie, and again, that's got a madam who runs all the houses. Like everyone has to pay their rent to her, and they film that, and they do like this. They use like the sound of their feet going up and down as she runs up and down collecting the rent from all these people. And again, that's to do with a frog, and you've got a bit like the Kill Bill, that crane claw, the hidden tiger, and there's one with the frog. And literally the frog move is you jump in the air, and when you land, literally the ground, they do a scene where the ground goes in and then it comes back out again, like it was rubber. It sort of uses a lot of techniques, and I think they do like a spinning kick in the air, but generally a lot of the people were just very talented kung fu specialists, and then they've added a little bit of CGI, zhuzh in their graphic designs. But I absolutely like Kung Fu Hustle. I cannot recommend it enough. It's a hilarious kung fu movie. I don't know whether I'll have to see if my other half will like it. I rented it out to my friend and she liked it. And then someone else goes, what's that rubbish you gave me? Like, their brain just goes, I don't get it. They're like, I don't see why you think it's funny. I said, it's the most hilarious film in the world. Like,
I'm not surprised in the least that you don't.
She's got a cigarette.
This surprised me.
This woman can talk. So wherever she's talking, she's like, no, that's my best Chinese. And she has a cigarette and it just stays on her bottom lip. Like they must have glued it to her bottom lip. So she smokes this cigarette and it goes in and it goes out. And then when she's talking, she can balance it and still go, no hands. She smokes no-handed. She's hilarious. She's like the, Queen Mama, Queen Bee of this whole walking estate. What she says goes. She's, you pay your rent money to her. If you want anything, like she is she's running the illicit thing. It's kind of like, again, it's the best thing of it's that Chinese thing of, right, we've got our own hierarchy, here's the hairdressers. I'll give you that money next week. Yeah, I bet you will. You never pay me back the money you owe me. You're good for nothing and all of that character. And then this other rival gang, a bit like Matrix, the Mr. Oh, what's he called?
Smith.
Who's the Mr. Smith character? So yeah, so basically it's like a Western as well. It's like a Kung Fu Hustle is like a Western. So all these men wearing, I think, bowler hats, black and white shoe brogues and their suits walk in to this village, this town. And the woman sort of goes, "Hi up, what are you doing on my turf?" And they're like, "Your turf? We've come here to take it over." And she's like, "And you and whose army are going to take over this, my town, my settlement, my village?" And they're like, we've got orders from so and so. And and that's when everyone starts using their superpowers, their super matrix kung fu to then beat each other up. And obviously the impoverished village win, and they kick out the baddie villains that had come to take them over, like all good westerns, so it's such a good, it's a kung fu movie, but it's it's got so many throwbacks to westerns. Yeah, it's such a cool movie.
Make me think of something. So you were talking about The Claw, and I remember. Do you remember that movie with Jim Carrey, Liar Liar? He does that with his son. He goes, "You're gonna get the claw. I can't control it. It's gonna get you the claw." And he has this little claw. Remember, he's a lawyer in that film, and he can't lie, right?
That was my first PTSD. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was The Mask that put me off Jim Carrey. That was the moment. And
you
then
didn't like The Mask.
Sorry?
You didn't like The Mask movie.
Oh no, I absolutely hate this. Is yesterday's conversation. I can't stand. It was foolish, stupid. It's about a possessed mask. Just him smiling, like when he sort of does that sort of cheeky grin. I can feel my fists. My fists just want to make contact with his face. I honestly can't.
That's how I feel about Nicolas Cage. That's how I feel about Nicolas Cage. Oh. My fists. I want to stab him if I'm eating. I get it.
But as friends, we can still be friends, even if we have our dislikes. But we would kindly say to our friend, "That ain't my cup of chai." Like, don't you dare make me watch that. That ain't my cup of chai. You can tell me about it, but don't make me endure that. And so that's the good thing, isn't it? You can tell me anything I've missed out. But yeah, the Truman Show I did watch, but I had to force myself, and that's because it is, it's obviously a genuinely good film, isn't it? But and I had seen it before.
She's not a fan of the Carrie.
He's as annoying as Rodney Dangerfield. Who is that? Who's Rodney Dangerfield?
Well,
I'd have to Google that.
He's an American comedian that was. You ever seen? I will tell you a good movie though. Caddyshack. You ever seen Caddyshack?
Yes.
Okay, he's in that. Rodney Dangerfield. He's the guy that. Oh, but the suit looks good on you.
Oh God, yeah, no, he can do one. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rebecca. I'm not always good with names and movies and things, so it could be completely wrong. But I'm pretty sure that's who is in that. That's Rodney Dangerfield. That's in that film. That's so obnoxious to the judge. I love his character. I love that film anyway. Okay. So we've been going for 2
6
hours.
o'clock, 2 hours. Should we cut it there?
I think we should cut it here. And
Yeah, I think
let's
so.
just do another one, and we'll come up with some other. I really
I'm sure we started at the beginning saying this is all going to be about the Blue Fairy. We've gone all around the house.
Yeah, but I think it was because we went from we're looking at symbols here. We're trying to put together pieces. And you've got my book off my shelf. And I didn't even realize
that seems lovely.
Book that we're even talking about with the Blue Fairy. So, and I'm looking through it, and I personally, as someone who absolutely loves fairy tales, right? I like the older versions, not Disney. So I haven't. This one is such an old book because it's like 1952. So I don't read from it. I have a different one I read the fairy tales to my wee one from. But I'm going to go ahead and read these now that she's older because I want to hear them again. And I was thinking you can find them online and listen to people reading them. So maybe we can go through and read one at a time. Or
find some of these. Yeah, and find some of this whole thing about the forest. It all goes back to forest. We're going back to paganism, Wicca, I suppose, but forest, Mother Nature. In all the cultures, everybody was focused on the land. If you didn't look after the land, you had nothing to eat. So of course you're going to, pray to the sun god. Of course you're going to pray you have a good harvest. You're going to celebrate when you have a good harvest because you've worked really hard for that food. So it makes really good sense. And then it's and then when someone's picked it up and plagiarized it, you're like, I recognize the main beginning, middle and end of that story. So I do like picking up some of these, and some of the ones that we don't like. You said about like the Appalachian sort of, like anything that's sort of,
Rebecca.
Yeah, sort of other mountains and things. And then I'm thinking of obviously Irish tales, Welsh tales, Scottish tales, Norse. I'm sure we can find some nice ones.
I kind of like Rebecca's idea. It made me think. I wrote that down. Where maybe we just do something like that, where we just pick blue characters, so it makes no difference where it comes from. So we can just find
that's a good one. Who created Smurf? I don't know.
If we say wolf, everyone picks wolf. Everyone finds what they know about what the wolf, and you know what I'm saying? Like I did a photography club for a while with a girlfriend of mine back in the MySpace days. And somebody would give just an idea. They'd say rainbows. And then your idea was to go and photograph whatever your interpretation of a rainbow would be. And then we would all send them in. Somebody would share them on the page. And so I think that's kind of a fun idea to do here. Rebecca likes it. So if we just bust out something, we'll do that. And me and you will email and we'll, come up with a few ideas, and then we can schedule some streams and then maybe invite, or get that out. So people who would want to come and also share their things they know about, say, blue beings or blue characters in general. I like that idea. Blue characters. Yeah. Fun.
Yeah. Why don't we look at blue characters? I've got some. I'm not going to say them out loud, and then if someone else has got them, it's fine. So think about your stories, think about your films, think about past, present, future, just in case. A bit like this futuristic Pinocchio. I go, where's that come from? I didn't get the memo about that. And then Google told me this is now your version of Pinocchio, and I'm going, where's this come from? That's not my Pinocchio. That's weird.
It is very okay. So thank you, Buffa, and thanks everybody for hanging out.
Thank you, Eric, for lending your channel.
Yeah, I'm hoping by now. I'm not sure the date yet, but I think it's been 2 weeks. Come Sunday, I think I got knocked out Sunday. So,
and if you was in
this week,
okay, if you was watching Esoteric Night of Malta Ecom, I went back to watch the beginning. It was taken down in 6 hours, and he hasn't got a YouTube strike, but the video underneath has been deleted by YouTube, and it says New World Order is a conspiracy. I shouldn't have even said that.
Jesus. They even say it. That's what I keep getting hit for, Buffa, though. I'm saying what other people are saying. I'm not getting hit for stealing or plagiarizing. I'm getting hit for medical misinformation coming out of a doctor's mouth about breastfeeding babies and how good breastfeeding is for a baby.
So I don't,
misinformation on breastfeeding. That is insanity.
Don't mention it. We're going to get a strike.
Anyway, I'm going to be doing
we can't discuss online what we're getting strikes for, because we'll get a strike.
I know. It's sad.
Fight Club.
So that's why I'm in trouble at the moment. That's the one that's got me hit again. So ridiculous. So anyway, I don't know how long Joni Rotten's going to survive, but we're going to go until I get resurrected again, like Pinocchio. I've got a few more.
Yeah, a few more incarnations. Yeah.
But what I was going to say is I have a couple more video or streams coming up. A Friday night, I'm interviewing a friend that I met, A1 Peachy Writer.
Yeah, brilliant.
From the A1 community, and she was there on the scene in Atlanta during the riots. And I've met her, and we've become friends over the years. I've known her for like 4 years now. And she's a really sweet soul. So I've asked her if she would come and be one of my
brilliant
AI to come, or A1, because I want to just ask her why she does what she does. So if you're interested, click that's on Ulick's page. Friday. I will still be here Friday.
That's on the notification. And I know that Esoteric Night Melter is over for Ecom. He's streaming, so he's going to upload his video. There was one piece of music that may not have been tested with the copyright, so we're going to try run the video without this one thing and see what happens on Friday. So this is another thing, isn't it? Just he goes, I haven't been banned, just the video's been withdrawn. So we're going to try and restream on Friday. That's normally around 8 o'clock. So it will just be people in the chat. It's a repeat, but people just go in the chat just to hiya, how are you? So it's kind of like a social meeting point. But the actual content will be repeat.
I think I've missed that because the time zones maybe, or I'm not subbed or something. And then I'm talking to Dan again. So Dan's coming back, and we're going to talk about nomadic generations and the cycles that are. Our favorite generation guy, Dan, is coming back to talk to us about the nomadic generation. So Mr. Jones might like that.
Brilliant.
And some of the people that are interested in generational studies. So, okay.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Have a great week. I shall catch you in the chat Friday.
Okay. I'm sure I'll see you around before then, but maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.